Hello there, you absolute legends. Emma McElhinney here with Piss Off Perimenopause and the musings of a bullshit queenager. I am here to ruin your misconceptions about perimenopause, fat loss, and kick midlife in the face. So if you think your 40s are a drag, think again. Because every week I am going to be stripping down the myths about perimenopause. I'm serving you raw, unfiltered truths about your health and smashing misconceptions about fat loss. And a whole lot more. So if you thought you knew midlife, you don't know the half of it. Aging is inevitable, but getting old is a choice. So buckle up, grab a glass of something yummy, and let's get to it. Hi, welcome to the next episode of Piss Off Perimenopause and the musings of Rebel Queenager. It has been a while. I'm not going to lie. Although, actually, you might not even know it's been a while. Anyway, if you have been a follower of the podcast for a while and you have been waiting with bated breath for a new episode, here we are. So, since the last episode, I have moved house, and this is going to be the first podcast recording of the new house. Now, the new house, the whole move situation has possibly been the worst experience of my life, and it has been a catalogue of catastrophes. And now that I think back, it's been 2 months since I've been in the new house. When I look back, I sometimes want to just cry, and sometimes I just want to laugh. If you want to hear about some of the catastrophes, should I do an episode specifically for the house move situation? Honestly, you genuinely could not make it up, some of the stuff that happened as part of that house move. Anyway, we are not here to talk about me today. We're actually here to talk about embarrassing perimenopause symptoms. And this is inspired just by talking to various women over the past month or so, clients. I've done a couple of events. So I was presenting at the very first Scottish Pause Summit, which was incredible. I have been speaking at an event in Glasgow held by the Pocket Rocket PT Kaylee Ewing, which was absolutely incredible. One hell of a woman. If you're not going to events like this, I would really urge you to get involved. You know, one of the big things, like, we know research into women's health isn't great. We know that funding into research for women's health isn't great because, you know, we've got hormones and it means that it's really hard to track things and actually get data. So the more that we are taking ownership of our own future health, of our lifestyle, the better. And this is where you're going to get access to experts in their field. So, I'm not going to diss the medical community at all in any way whatsoever. But, you know, I hear so many people going, oh, I'm going to get my blood test done. And, you know, and then they get told that, you know, their bloods are normal. And then they're like, oh, shit, what do I do? And your GP doesn't have the level of training that I have in terms of like lifestyle medicine, in terms of how to manage nutrition and movement and stress and sleep, all of these things in perimenopause. On the flip side, I can't tell you to take HRT or prescribe you HRT. But I'm going to do another episode on the recent white paper from the International Menopause Society, all about lifestyle medicine. That's in the pipeline, so keep a listen out. But today, embarrassing. Right, so, you know, like, in perimenopause, there's loads of things, like, depending on what research you look at, there's either like 5 symptoms, inverted commas, because it's not an illness, it's not a disease, so it's not symptoms, indications. You could have 5 indications of perimenopause, or you could have 105. But there's some of them that, you know, we'll talk about as being normal, like mood swings, brain fog, etc., etc. But what about the ones that nobody's talking about, you know, random gusset sweat? I hate that word. Can't believe I just said that on a podcast. Gads. Or, you know, leaking when you cough, or the minute you put your key in the front door, you suddenly like, oh shit, I'm going to piss my pants. Brain fog, like, why have you left your car keys in the fridge? Like, there's loads. And this isn't about wallowing in self-pity, because that's not going to change anything. But yeah, we can have a laugh about it, but I want you to understand like why some of these happens and what you can actually do about them as well. So there's some things that we shouldn't be accepting as normal. Like, pissing your pants is not an acceptable it's not normal. It should not be happening. So this is about giving you that information and putting you back in control of some of these. So, like, you might recognize some of this. Like, have you sneezed recently and gone, oh my God, and had to like clench your vulva as tightly as it'll go, or found yourself, maybe in a meeting or something and you can't remember the presenter's name or your boss's name, or you feel like that hot flush starting from your knees and you're like, oh shit, really not now because you're going to have to strip off. These aren't like perimenopause isn't part of you breaking. This is like your body's telling you stuff when these things happen. So we don't. It's not about ignoring these things. It's not about hating these things. They're kind of they're clues. Your body's telling you stuff. So some of the big things, like let's talk about bladder leakage. Or hot flushes or brain fog or body odor. That's another one. One of my clients had raised about, suddenly they've just noticed that they've got a really different scent to them. Like some people do get bad BO, some people don't. Some people have to change their deodorant. Some people find that they sweat more. And these aren't, it's not just getting old. It's because of these hormone fluctuations. Um, and they affect everything like pelvic floor, brain chemistry, neurotransmitters, all the things. But if we think about the pee leakage, right? So if you, I don't know, I'll try and remember and leave it below. Underneath this, I'll have a link that takes you to my how to lose your mental middle without doing a single sit-up training. When estrogen is declining and fluctuating, estrogen is like it helps muscles stay good, tip top, shall we say. So when your muscles in your pelvic floor, which is part of your core, in that video I've just mentioned, there's a really good description of how to use a can of beans as a really good analogy of what your core is. But basically, your muscles lose tone. And when cortisol rises, cortisol, your stress hormone, can make things even worse. So when your body is under stress, whether it's stress because you're getting chased by a lion, or stress because your husband's been a prick, or stress because you are under the cosh with a report at work, or you've got a teenage son that calls you bro, or you're just generally not sleeping, which is actually the biggest source of heightened cortisol. The brain's going to reroute resources away from non-essential things. So things like libido and digestion and all of these types of things. So this is just about, it's almost like most women live in that place for years, like, they're getting pulled in different directions and their body's changing, but they just keep on powering through. This is almost like your body's way of saying, hold the bus, stop a wee minute, let's look at this. So, from the point of view of, yeah, this stuff's funny. We can all sit in menopause cafes or our support groups or whatever, and talk and laugh about it. And that's great because, if we didn't have laughter, if we didn't have humor, like life would be a very dull place. This is one of the things that actually seek out when I if I put out an offer for to join the Happy Body Project or whatnot, like I like talking to people to find out if they're a good fit because, we are not taking everything so seriously here. But things like haha, I peed myself when I sneeze stuff. Yeah, it can be quite funny, but that's not normal. It should not be happening. You don't have to put up with it. You don't need to wear a nappy every time that you go out. This can change. You can change this. And this is where, lifestyle changes. And in some instances, some HRT might actually help improve symptoms like that. So when we talk about some of the embarrassing things, so we've got the stress incontinence, the leaking or the urgency, right? That's not, your pelvic floor hasn't suddenly got weak. I'm trying to describe how it could be. Like, it's almost like tight and overactive, right? So one of the things when I was in employment all those years ago, I prided myself on how long I could need a pee for. and not go because I was busy. Like I'll just hold it in until I've finished this paragraph or I've written this presentation or I've studied this data, whatever. But um, we hold tension, and our pelvic floor is where we can hold tension. So start thinking about what can you help your pelvic floor with. So you probably, if you're in the UK, when you are pregnant, you probably got some advice on squeeze the kegels, squeeze and relax, squeeze and relax, squeeze and relax. Right. So actually, we can do so much more. And I'm trying to think in that training that I mentioned, I think it does have some steps in there, so it's worthwhile doing it. So, um, start learning to relax your pelvic floor. So you think of your pelvic floor as like a hammock that's kind of holding all your organs in, keeping everything all together. Practicing deep core breathing. Magnesium can also help. Reducing caffeine as caffeine's a diuretic. So basically, when you consume caffeine, it's forcing your body to release fluid. Alcohol as well. So pelvic floor relaxation, pelvic floor strengthening, deep breathing, deep core breathing, these kind of things can really, really help. So practice them, standing at the supermarket at the checkout, practice one of the I've been to different Pilates over the years. Now I actually don't do Pilates just now. But the best Pilates instructor I ever had was an old lady. She was in her 80s. And when she came into the class, I was like, oh, look at that old lady coming to do her exercises. No, she was the instructor. And that woman, oh my God, the core strength that she had. But anyway, she taught me a really good exercise about imagine your vulva as a lift, right, an elevator for those of you in the US. And what you're trying to do is pull up that lift. So pull up, and everything is coming up and up and up and up and up. And that'll start tightening up your pelvic floor and all the way up into your core. So I'm actually trying to do it just now and I'm completely distracted. So anyway, you can practice that. Um, Hot flushes, extreme sweating. Okay, so if your body is struggling to regulate temperature, again, this can be to do with the changes in estrogen. It can be to do with changes in cortisol. Um, Cutting down on looking at your food can be a really powerful thing to do. Looking at your sleep can be a really powerful thing to do. Actually making sure that you have ways of releasing stress and cortisol. So it could be like strength training can be a really good way of managing cortisol levels. Making sure that you are not eating really hot temperature foods, balancing the amount of spice that you're eating in your foods, cutting down on your ultra processed foods, eating more inverted, can't well, unless you're watching this on YouTube, you can't see me. Inverted commas, like natural, cleaner foods, so less ingredients and chemicals in your foods. These things can really help with the hot flushes. Now, some people are really good at being super honest and saying, do you know what, I am having perimenopause symptoms right now, that's why I am sweating and taking off my layers. Making sure, like, if you sleep in, I've switched my bed into linen, and that has really helped. So I'm naturally very cold. In daytime I don't experience hot flushes. um yeah, I don't know if I ever will, but it's extremes of temperature, and more women are telling me that actually they get really, really cold. So it's not just hot flushes, but in nighttime I can get really, really hot, overly hot. But natural bed linen has really helped me for that. And the clothes that you wear. So natural cotton underwear. No, it doesn't have to be big granny pants. Less nylon, less polyester, etc., etc. That can really help with the temperature. And some people are really good at brazing it out when they're in the workplace, but some people don't work in an environment that is culturally part of what they do. So layers, um, access to fresh air, always having your water with you, excusing yourself if you need to go and excuse yourself. Common sense applies. I'm not teaching your granny to suck eggs. Brain fog and forgetfulness. Oh, right, this is me. Has anybody else noticed that they are more clumsy? I have dropped so many things of late. It's ridiculous. Anyway, we're not talking. I've forgotten. Got the brain fog. Forgotten what I was talking about. Walk into a room. Forget why you're there. Go on to the fridge. You've put your car keys in the fridge. Why are my car keys even there? So again, you can help yourself as much as you can by your inputs, what you do, what you consume. So in terms of your nutrition, making sure that your hydration is top notch. If you think about, I get so many women coming to me like, oh God, I've got really low energy and I'm bloated all the time and I'm so forgetful, I can't focus and I'm shattered by 3 o'clock. I think I need HRT. 9 times out of 10, these women actually just need to drink more water. There you go. Bit of free coaching today. Drink more water. But if you are experiencing a lot of brain fog and forgetfulness, you want to look at your hydration levels. If you're drinking like more than a litre and a half a day, then it might not be water. But regular meals, making sure that your blood sugar levels are regulated by eating regularly. So 3 meals at an absolute minimum, making sure that you have got protein at every meal, fats at every meal. Fats are really, really powerful for our hormone health. And we don't take, like as a generation, we tend to veer towards low fat because fattier foods contain more calories. But fats are actually really powerful for our hormones and metabolism, so kind of need fats. Like reducing the amount of multitasking that you're doing. I know it's hard. I know you like to be in control, and I know you like to juggle all the plates. But if you can reduce the amount of things that you're doing at any one time, it's giving you a chance to actually focus on smaller things. The other thing that's really powerful is actually giving yourself a chance to really rest your brain. And this is why I ask my clients to reduce their phone use and come off their phones at least 30 minutes before they go to bed. And I don't know if you've ever heard the phrase, like when you've got kids now, kids go, oh, I'm bored, and we try and fill them up with things to do. Actually, being bored is a really good place to be to allow your brain that chance to rest, to switch off. This is why meditation is so powerful because, like, if you sit down, like most of my clients feel like sitting down and relaxing is lazy and they've got so much shit to do that they can't do that. But actually, we do need to allow ourselves that switch off time. Um, the stinky stuff, you might notice that your nether regions smell differently, your body odor smells differently. Again, looking at your nutrition, making sure that you are fueling your body the right way. So hydration, looking after your gut health, so making sure that you're eating your fruit and veg, your protein, your fats, making sure fiber is a really good thing, and we don't tend to eat enough fiber as women. So, but if you increase your fruit and veg and your whole grains, you're going to get your fiber in. And making sure that you are looking after your natural detoxification processes. So do not go on a detox ever. You have a liver, you have kidneys that do this for you, but making sure, like, allowing your liver to actually function properly. So making sure that your nutrition's top notch, your hydration's top notch, and you're cutting back on things like alcohol. Alcohol. I tried to whisper. Why am I whispering in a podcast? That's ridiculous. Less alcohol. So these are just some really practical tips that you can do. Now, a lot of these can be embarrassing, right? The embarrassment might be coming from the fact that you feel like you're broken, like you're an anomaly, that you're falling apart. But if you can switch this, like, think this is a wee mindset thing. If we switch this up and you approach it in a way of actually saying, do you know what? My body's telling me something here. This is like your opportunity to make changes, to improve these things that are going on. It's not, you don't have to accept these things as being part and parcel of your life. This is about stepping into a new phase in your life, a new season of your life. This is not the end. It's not the beginning of the end. It's the start of the next bit. And if the average age of a woman living in the UK is 83, like, you've got a fuck ton of time to go. And yes, just now you might feel a bit glitchy. It might feel a little bit mortifying, but it's also, this is your body saying, stop pushing, stop forcing, stop trying to juggle all of these things and actually do it properly. And that's what I do here at Eat Move Win, is I teach people how to go back to basics and do the things that they should always have been doing, but we've not. We've always got caught up in this pattern of I must be stricter and I must work harder and I must be really good all the time. And it's nothing to do with that. This is not about fixing your body. You're not broken. Um, but it's about how do we actually start caring for ourselves properly. And that doesn't mean like stroking your hair and go, oh, it's going to be okay, just go for a nap. Actually looking after yourself properly with the things that you can control: your nutrition, your movement, your mindset, your sleep, your stress. But because you don't need to fix it, you need to support yourself. And that's what this stuff's all about. So what I'd invite you to do is let me know how you found this episode. It's been a while. I'm a little bit rusty. Um, Share it with someone. Yeah. Like it. Share it. I can't even remember what my things are that I normally say. Like it. Share it. Follow me on Instagram if you're not on Instagram already. It's at Emma Perimeno Health. There's loads of advice and support on there. And if you want to, you can sign up to get my weekly newsletter. It's not really a newsletter, my weekly laugh a minute email. Let's just oversell this laugh a minute email. That's what it is. And if you want to make proper changes, then you can just get in touch with me, either on email, Emma at Team EMW, or on the Instagram. This is not like, it doesn't have to be embarrassing. You know, the real madness is that we hide away in shame, and my people don't hide away in shame. Don't you hide away in shame. Okay. I thank you for listening. Like, share, do the things, and I will catch you. And just like that, we have spiced up another episode of Piss Off Perimenopause and the musings of a bullshit queenager. Massive shout out and a huge thank you for hanging out with me today. I really hope you've been entertained. And remember, don't be shy, hit that subscribe button. And until next time, keep those heels high and standards higher. Remember, it's all about glowing, growing and downright owning it. So catch you on the flip side, and don't forget to click the link in the show notes to get your freebie.